right, 3, 2, and 1.
Hello. Welcome back to Miked Up. Today is Wednesday, February 25th. Got a big show for you today. Appreciate the patience. Sorry for the delayed start, a little rain delay. But we're here, not too far out of when we usually start. Been a long day. You know, real life sometimes gets a little hectic, and you just gotta have to, roll with the punches and make the adjustments. And that's why Lloyd is the best producer we can have, because he's all about rolling with the punches. But we got a lot to talk about. Obviously, LSU suffers their first loss of the season last night at home to McNeese, 7-6. I imagine that there's probably a lot of Romans falling type of conversations amongst some people. I'm here to tell you, let's all pump the brakes and cool it. Let's not freak out about it. Midweek games sometimes become a little difficult, right? Especially when you're not throwing strikes like you have been throwing, and especially when you start giving guys free passes and giving them opportunities to, steal some runs. And that's what we saw last night. We're going to talk about that game, and then we're going to obviously talk about what's to come moving forward. What do we want to see this weekend? I guess our conversations of what the team looks like as of now. It's also Ask Mikey and Mitch Wednesdays. Throw your questions in the chat. I want to apologize. We have we announced on Monday that we were going to have a special guest. We will have him, just not today. Jake Brown will make an appearance at some point here soon. Just could not happen today. Things come up, and like I said, you got to roll punches. You got to figure it out. Lloyd is holding it down for us in the studio by his lonesome. And Jay, Mitch, and I get to do it from the comforts of our home because we have little human beings that need our attention. And sometimes you gotta figure it out. And that's what we're trying to do. Lloyd, how are we doing today? How are we living? How are we feeling? Appreciate you. I'm sorry. I know it's lonely in there without me, but,
Hey, it happens. It happens. But, hey, it was a good start to the pre-show. Got to see old Rome. He made his first appearance. I've seen John Michael. Now I'll get to see Rome, and got to see Jared a Durag too, which was awesome.
They got a lot going on today.
Hey, it was a lot of surprises when we showed up on this stream.
Hey, y'all are. Yeah, I know you're at home for sure.
Yeah, Rome looks great. Looks healthy. Rome is he's making some I guess cosmetic changes. He's getting some new hair, which is the thing that happens with babies.
Yes. Getting rid of the old hairs and getting into new hairs. No, I didn't know that was a thing before, but apparently it is. So
listen, John Michael still got his hair full of highlights. Still, he doesn't have any. None of the features.
Just like the Mahtook family, got it.
Exactly. None of the Lebanese features that I thought were going to come out with the dark hair, and didn't get those. So we'll see if that ended up changing. But he's doing great, gaining some weight. Weighed in. We had to go to the pediatrician. He had a little congestion in his chest. We got a little nervous because, when babies are this young, if they're sick, you got to go to the hospital, and it's a whole big deal. And so we went to the pediatrician just to make sure he's good. Just a little, some reflux and some adjustments that little babies have to be made. But he weighed in at 11 pounds, 5 ounces. He was 10.5 pounds about a week ago, and little man is putting on some pounds. Stomach's going out this way, not this way. It's going out that way. But it's great.
Yeah, I love that.
Great. It's great. Jay, how you living? How you feeling?
Good, man. Good. We're just figuring out how to be parents over here every day.
That's it. Learn on the fly.
Yeah.
Let's jump into this conversation. Like I said, it's obviously Ask Mikey and Mitch, so I'm sure there's a lot of questions about what happened last night. I'm sure there's questions about what to look for in the future. But before I really jump into it, Lloyd, you didn't go to the game, did you?
No, just watched it on the tube. We had plans to go, but then everybody fell through, so it just would have been a 55-degree night alone. So just watched it on the tube, but I had to get the Lynn call in, so he's on fire. And it started off great. I did want to see Paz pitch.
Ryan his debut this year with Lynn.
Uh-huh.
Was Ryan Rand's debut. All right, I'm going to go through. I'm going to start with you, Lloyd. Talk to me. From watching it from your standpoint, what's something that you saw last night that, I don't know if it's concerning, but that kind of stuck out with you? And is that something that you're going to look into this game and be like, okay, there's a lot of red flags or something to be concerned about? Or is it just one of those things like, hey, listen, 55-degree day, middle of the week, you just played a ton of games, and you just chalk it up to baseball?
Yeah, I think that's more of what it is. They've played a ton of baseball coming off the weekend. You add another, I guess, midweek game on a Tuesday, and Jay talked about this a little bit. He says, I probably should have, like when I did the scheduling thing, I probably should have moved this to Wednesday to give them an extra day because they did practice on Monday and then played on Tuesday, and you could see a little bit of, like, I guess just a little bit of fatigue. Started off hot and kind of ran out of gas. You had Paz, freshman, get his first start, cruises through the first, and then you see that what has kind of been something that we've noticed so far going into it, the lack of consistency with the fastball. If he's not throwing strikes, that's how big innings happen. So to hit, I believe the pitchers, they used 10 because it became if you walk somebody, you're getting yanked. And so that's where Jay was with the pitching rotation. I don't think he wanted to throw 10 pitchers because I know that because that's what he said. He wanted to get to Rickert after Paz, and then it just became, who can I put in? Now I have to play matchup baseball and put in a lefty, and Cooper Williams comes in to hit somebody. So that's how big innings happen. But you used 10 pitchers, 7 of the 10 either walked or hit a batter. You gave up 11 free bases, 5 walks, and 6 hit by pitches. And you were still a run away from winning. So if LSU ever gets outwalked or has more free passes given than they can get because that's their calling card, it feels like up to this point, then you might be looking at an L. But it was a 4.5-hour baseball game because of that. Both were playing the waiting game.
Hey, great assessment by you. That's a great assessment. No panic button. And Jared and I have talked about this a lot on this show. If you're going to go through midweek games, and if you were to lose a midweek game against teams that usually are not as talented, right? Like, you're going to play against, a team in the midweek that doesn't have the depth, and you're probably not going to face their ace, and they probably don't have a ton of guys that have the arms that maybe their ace has. The recipe for losing those games is free passes, is putting guys on long innings, having the defense sit out there, especially on kind of a chilly night, maybe making some errors, which I think they only made one last night, but giving these guys an opportunity, and all of a sudden you get a couple hits and now a couple runs, you gain a little confidence, and that's the recipe for midweek upsets. And that's what we saw last night. Obviously, I think they got out to a 7-2 lead, and then LSU tried to claw back and they couldn't quite get there all the way. But that's what I saw. Jared, did you watch the game? Or obviously, I'm sure you paid attention to it. What is something that you saw, I guess, want to add to what we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would say this. I'm not here to explain away any losses that they may take this year. A loss is a loss. It is what it is. But it is a perfect storm. You play 8 games, and like I know, Mikey, like they run around and they do all of the fall stuff. They do all of the spring stuff that gets you ready for the season. But then when you open the year playing 8-9 inning ball games, well, not 9 because there's the 10-run rules, but let's just say 8-9 inning ball games to start the year in 10 days, and you take a day off, but you really didn't take a day off, you practice, and then you go and play again against an in-state rival, someone who's looking for an opportunity to come in and play in this game, so they're going to play up. It's kind of the perfect storm. Now, I'm not sitting here trying to explain away any loss that they may have. You lost, you take the L's, it is what it is, you take your medicine, you move on, and you move forward. But let's not sit here and not be able to, as people like, I'm not Jay Johnson. We are not Jay Johnson. We don't have to tell you to approach everyone like they're the World Series championship team. It's just, at the end of the day, it is what it is. That's the game you had in front of you. That's the trap you had in front of you. And you fell into it early. You got in a situation where you walked a lot of people. You gave up a lot of free bases. It turned into runs, and you find yourself down, I want to say, 7-2 by the 4th inning? Mm-hmm. It becomes tough to kind of get out of those situations, and you fell into a low in that spot, and you got. So I'm not worried about it, like, really at all. I do think, like I said, that 8 games in 10 days, then you practice and you go and play again to start the year. That's kind of taxing to start the year, right?
Look,
have a chance to kind of catch your breath and move forward. It's kind of taxing, so it is what it is there.
Right, and I'm not sitting here, and I don't think you're sitting here saying like, oh, they weren't coming in there and they weren't trying to win. Like they didn't come in there thinking like, oh, we're gonna roll our glove out. It's just that the reason why baseball is so hard, right? And you see this a lot, obviously, in the professional level because you play so many games. Right, that like once you start playing game after game after game after game, you get worn down. And then when you play a game that really doesn't have a great pace to it, it kind of gets a little bit. It gets easy to kind of get on your heels, not because you underestimated somebody or not because you weren't ready to play, but just because baseball happens and it's just a human nature, and that's why nobody goes undefeated in baseball because it's a hard game.
It's also, I mean, you got to think about this too. If we can sit here and be honest and talk about trap games in a football season where you only have 12 of those things and you play one of them per week, how can you not sit here and say that there's trap games and trap situations in a sport where you're asked to play almost every day, right? Like, so that's what you're sitting here looking at. There was a trap situation, your ass got. Now it's time to get off the mat and get back on the wagon and do what you need to do.
And look, we've talked about this before. You really find out who you are, right, as a team. You can have all the talent in the world after a loss, right? How do you respond to a loss? What's the next game going to look like? And I firmly believe these guys obviously are going to get back on track. They play a 4-game series, but not against one team this weekend. I believe it's they play Dartmouth and Northeastern, right? It's like 2 games apiece, I believe.
Yep.
So you got Dartmouth on Friday, Northeastern Saturday, Dartmouth Sunday, Northeastern on Monday. So you get right back in the saddle with a 4-game series. So you get the ability to kind of rebound and play good baseball. And look, up to last night, they've been playing good baseball. And look, they lost a 7-6 game when they pitched and didn't play great baseball. They lost 7-6. Right? It wasn't like they got beat 10-2. They got beat 7-6. They kind of got put in a hole. They tried to fight their way back. Ultimately, didn't quite get there. But this is coming after playing really good baseball, right? They played really good baseball for 8 games, and so I think that they're going to be all right. I think no reason for anybody to panic. But look, it's a nice little kick in the ass to say, hey, okay, let's get back right before we start getting to SEC competition, which is coming up here in a couple weeks.
We have some quotes from Jade that from the post game if you want to see some, because he's kind of echoing what y'all are saying. And so here's one that popped up on the feed today.
You watch that first inning and you go like, why isn't this guy pitching on Friday? And it sucks because like some of these things you can't get, and Omar had a couple of them tonight, and I wouldn't trade him for anybody. Like you can't get through where you need them to go without some of the pain. I've tried to hide it from. I feel like we've done a really good job here of hiding it, costing us some games. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm plenty confident in him. We'll get plenty more opportunities. I'm sure, depending on the pitch count after we've got it, he'll be back on the team this weekend at some point.
Yeah, I mean, he's right? Like, you can't replicate game situations no matter what the talent level is. Like, you're playing real games, you can't replicate that. You can't replicate the lights. You can't replicate, having a start. Like, you just can't replicate that in inter squads. And so the only way you can kind of get better from that is to kind of go through that, right? Go through some struggles. And I'd rather him struggle early and figure it out than have super success and then go right in the SEC and be counted on and have to go through another big adjustment and struggle then. So, that's pretty spot on. I think Jay understands that. And like I said, it wasn't a great game, but it also wasn't like something you look at and you say, oh, whoa, we got some shit we got to figure out. That's not the case as well. But in games like that, right, there are some things that you can look at and say, okay, we got to improve on, but you also don't want to overreact and say, okay, we got to go and revamp everything after one thing happens. You try to look at some of the positive things that may have happened in that game. Before I kind of get to my positives, Lloyd or Jared, either y'all saw anything that you liked last night in a game that obviously a loss, not a positive game, but there are some positives that I saw come out of that. Is there anything that you saw?
I'll say this: down 7-2 at 1.5 runs, you needed to kind of spot 5-6 runs. You needed to spot to make up to kind of get yourself back into the game. I do like that offense found a way to have 2 runners on and a fly out to the warning track that basically lost the game. But I will say, all in the same time, all in the same sentences, they left some opportunities out there. They had ample opportunity to take that lead, to go ahead and kind of push themselves forward, and they weren't able to do that. So if they left some meat on the bone, I think I can sit here and say that. I think as time goes through the season, you'll get some of these younger guys who don't have as many at-bats to kind of get seasoned, kind of get settled in, and kind of get to understanding what it takes to perform in those situations and kind of be able to chip off that block and get yourself back in that game. I thought they did a decent job there. Not great, job's not done, but I did look at that as a positive, but something that they can also continue to improve on.
Correct. Lloyd, do you have one? Because I have one. You want me to go? Because I don't. It may be the same one you have.
Yeah, you go ahead.
In a game where pitching obviously was not up to par, right? Not up to the caliber that the players expect and that we expect and that Jay expects. There was one pitching performance that I want to highlight, right? And really, I mean, there's 2, but there's one guy that I think you're going to start seeing a lot more of, and that's Ricken, right? We talked about Paz starting as a freshman. Ricken is the other high-level freshman starter that they brought in. He threw an inning and a third, so you make 4 outs, and he gave up a couple hits but struck out 4 guys. He did walk a guy, but he struck out 4. You saw his stuff. You saw him come at guys, attack guys. You saw him really look dominant when he was out there. And I believe the walk that he did was a kind of a borderline pitch. Could have been strike 3. They called it ball 4. He got walked. But if I'm going to pick a positive, that's 2 outings in a row that I watched Ricken throw that I'm like, okay, this kid looks really good. His delivery looks smooth. He attacks guys. He's got the build. He's got the stuff. And for me, if I had to pick something to say, hey, look, let's focus on that. That would be it.
Yeah, it would be him and Sheeran for me because both of them came in and held the door, I guess, from being held the door open for you when it was 7-2. LSU gets a couple of runs across, and McNeese doesn't score anymore, going from the top of the 5th all the way to the 9th. So it were those 2 guys that came in and really and Garcia looked good too, because when you look at it, you had McNeese struck out 14 times and only had 2 extra base hits. Like, that's good enough. That's very good baseball, but you can't give up the 10. You can't give up 10 free passes and expect to win. But everything outside of that, you strike out a team 14 times, you only give up 2 extra base hits, and you still saw some of the you saw Sheeran kind of settle into that role where he's throwing 99, 100 coming out the pen. That's somebody that you're going to rely on a lot too. But Ricken is also very impressive.
Yeah. And look, we talked about this in these situations, in these games leading up to conference play. A lot of guys are going to have a lot of opportunities to pitch. And when you see this, you're going to start seeing guys kind of force their way into roles, right? Like, based off of what their performance was in the fall or the spring leading up into the season, you may have a preconceived notion on what their role is going to be, but then the gameplay starts and you look at it and they're like, okay, this guy's performing at a different level than we anticipated or whatever. And so you're going to start seeing these roles kind of start getting defined, or guys have more opportunity in more high leverage roles. And, a couple of those guys, obviously Garcia was one of those guys that was brought in to be counted on. Ricken is a freshman. He looks good. You're going to start seeing that. Obviously Sheeran looks great. So for me, that would be a positive spin on all that.
And I honestly think I'm not sure quite yet. Like, if you just look at the tea leaves of what Jay's done the past few years with the staffs that he's had and these rosters that he's had, I do think the depth is there this year, right? And what Jay has shown in the past is that it's going to take him a couple weeks. It's going to take him a few weeks into conference play for roles to really start being defined, especially when it comes to that bullpen or that staff and how those guys are going to get used and where you can expect to see them. So I would expect to see, once again, especially with the pitching staff, expect to see a lot of these guys get used in a lot of different ways as he's trying to figure out who are the trusted ones and what are they trusted to be able to do and how they can do those things.
Correct. And before we get to Ask Mikey and Mitch, I wanna talk about kind of what's next, right? Like you have a loss in the midweek. Obviously, you have Wednesday, Thursday off, and then you have 4 games in a row. And based off of what we've seen over the last 9 games, moving into this weekend, give me like a couple things that you want to see in week 3 that makes you feel like, all right, we're kind of progressing in the right direction.
For me, there's one big thing. Like if I'm being completely honest, and last week I think was a positive step in the right direction, going the right way. But I want to see Friday and Sunday, if that's what you want to call it, starter 1 and starter 3, continue to take that next step. When you think about Case and Evans, that next step to me means being more comfortable in doing what his plan is and what he's trying to do as a starter compared to how he approached it as a closer. When I think about William Schmidt is, once again, continue to take the ball in that day 3 situation and just go be himself. Go dominate, because that is truly what he has the ability to do. The more he can start pitching like himself and pounding the zone and really using all of his arsenal, I think those 2 things will bode well for this pitching staff and this team as they continue to go forward.
Very well said. That's kind of where I was going, right? Week 1, opening day, Kaysen went out there. His stuff looked good. It just, wasn't as fine-tuned as he probably wanted it to be, and it wasn't the start that he anticipated having. And then week 2 looked better, right? Had first two good innings, and he had a kind of a wonky inning, got out of it, and then had a great 5th inning to keep his pitch count down. And if it was later on in the season, I would imagine he'd be going back out for game 6. So ended up getting out of the game, I think, with the lead in the 5th inning. And so for me, I want to see him just continue to progress, right? Like, hey, you're in start 3. You've kind of gotten into your routine as the Friday night starter. You've got the stuff. You've got the makeup. You've got the experience. Now I want to see you on the 3rd week. Just continue to do that, but just take that next step. And I believe that you're going to see that, right? I think you're going to see him go 6, 7 innings this weekend, and you're going to him be a lot more efficient in how he pitches, right? I don't think you're going to see him be kind of nitpicking in the zone and trying to do. He's going to go out and attack guys, and he's going to say, "Hey, here's my shit. Go and hit it." I don't think you can, and I think that's the mentality he has, and he's going to have it this weekend. And as far as Schmidt, I'm with you. I think he's coming off the best start of his career at LSU. 5 innings, no runs, no walks. And I want to see him kind of, repeat that, right? Go out there and say, hey, look, I'm not expecting you to go out there and give up no runs and no walks every game, but I would like to expect to see you have that same type of mentality of attacking the zone, getting ahead of guys, having control of your pitches and controlling the game. And then after that, let's see what happens. And if he does that, I believe you're going to have another good start. Lloyd, what about you?
I think there's a couple of things that you saw that obviously going to the weekend you'd like to see. One of them is, I don't know how quickly this can happen, but you're starting to see a bit of the injury bug kind of, take its toll on LSU. At least none of them seem very serious, but you still have Stanfield out. You'd like to see him get back in the lineup, get back in left field. And then Aaron Beatty goes down yesterday, and Jay gave us as much of an update as he could, saying he was in the dugout. He's like, I can't go back in. And he's like, well, okay. Well, if you don't think you can play, you won't play. And so to see that Aaron Beatty, who was off to a very good start, and now you have Cerna come in and have to make those adjustments as being a freshman, and now maybe looking at extended time as a starting catcher. And then obviously you're still kind of tinkering around with what you want to do in left field, because it felt like Stanfield was very much going to play there every day. Now you're putting Tanner Reeves out there. You're putting Callaway still at third, but then you have
Simpson out there.
Simpson, yes. And so it's not exactly what they wanted.
Probably going to get some opportunity out and left.
Yeah, and so I would like to see them get back to kind of the team that you had. But other than that, I think there was a couple of things that Jay said I thought were interesting going into this after a loss, because he lays it out that the team was playing a little bit, I don't want to say scared, but a little bit on edge in a game where he thought that we've done this kind of all year already. We've already made comebacks, so it was just an interesting perspective.
I think I could sense I felt like they felt a lot of pressure as we were behind in the game, and it was I was a little surprised at that because we were behind opening day, we were behind against Indiana. I feel like there was maybe one other one in there, maybe not actually. We played so well. In the middle of the game, I tried to like shake them to like, hey man, nobody's gonna like, come after you like for losing the game. For me, it's about how we play, and I wanted to get them back on track, and I thought that they did that, and I thought they competed in the game fine. Like we didn't not care about. It wasn't we took the game lightly or anything like that. And so the message was just, we've done a really good job here respecting winning and what it takes to win. And part of that is learning the lessons, from something like this. And then you leave this one behind and you get ready for Friday. And so I'm confident we can do that. And just like, I think they need to know, like, I hate to say it, but losing is part of this. Just because we haven't lost a lot here in a while, like it is part of this thing. Like that's why the winning feels good. So detach from that, focus on how we could have played a little bit better. How can we learn from it, use it for improvement, and that was really the message.
It doesn't sound like a guy who's going to panic. It's going to sound like a guy hey, listen, this is why we lost, right? This, and this, and this. Has nothing to do with talent. Has nothing to do with. It's just hey, maybe you got to focus a little bit more. Maybe you got to do a couple of different things. So they're going to take this. We're going to learn from this. We're going to be better from this. And I believe that they're going to do that. And that's the approach you need to take. But
hey, let me ask you a question. Truth be told, I want an honest answer on this. For you, Mikey, and look, obviously this lineup isn't filled or this roster isn't filled with just Louisiana kids. But for you, thinking back on it, when we were playing in-state schools. Did you feel more or less pressure to win those games than you did against what was perceived as same level talent, same level team, SEC opponents on the weekend?
More pressure, maybe like a couple, right? Like, look, when we played UL, I wanted to beat UL. It's my hometown, right? Like, you know what I mean? It was just one of those things where I felt like, all right, and it wasn't necessarily pressure, but it's probably put more self-pressure on myself to go out there and say, hey, listen, this is going to be a lot of people that I know that go to school there, and I'm from Lafayette, and so I maybe put a little more added pressure on myself. But as far as like the in-state schools, for me it was I don't know if pressure was the right word. It was just I had to be a lot more self-conscious on not letting up mentally, I guess, if that makes sense.
No, it does. I think the in-state school thing kind of made you feel like you should be doing more. You know what I mean? Not necessarily that you shouldn't lose or that they don't belong, but it made you feel like you should be doing more. And I wonder if that's kind of where he felt like he saw this, where the game was where it was. We're not doing what we need to do. We've only scored 2 runs through the 4th. They got a 7 spot on us. They're up by 5. Like, if that was where he kind of felt like he looked at him like they should be, maybe they feel like they should be doing more instead of just, hey, just being yourself. Just play your game. You got 9 innings. You got 27 outs. Take care of that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's just, it's new team, right? A lot of new guys. You're gonna have to. There's gonna be things where you're gonna have to figure some stuff out, and I think that's what this is. But Lloyd, you made a good point. They didn't come out and say what happened to Aaron Beatty, correct? Like we don't know exactly what happened, right?
Yeah, it looked like he took a foul ball off the foot or a wild pitch off the foot. Whenever he was back, they didn't really pinpoint anything where it happened, but it looked like it was one where one got by him the 4th. I believe, and he kind of got up a little weird, and so I think that, and he didn't go back in the 5th, so I think that's where it was. But there's been no update as to what actually the injury is. Could just be sore.
Yeah. So hopefully, obviously, it's just like a bruise, and it's something that's not something long term. But regardless, like that puts a very highly touted, very highly, very very talented freshman catcher in the spotlight. Puts him right in the middle of it, and that's another thing. Like you brought that up as something that you want to see. Like, how is that transition going to happen this weekend? Because we talked about last year a lot of things that Aaron Beatty had to kind of go through to get better and develop as a catcher. And the catching position isn't just about catch it, throw it back, hit, do whatever. It's about a lot more. It's about controlling the pace of the game. It's about controlling the pitching staff. It's about having the confidence from the pitching staff and throwing pitches. If the guy on third base and you got an 0-2 pitch or a 1-2 count and the pitcher has confidence in burying a breaking ball that you're going to block it and not get it by him. There's a lot of things there are nuances that go into being a catcher that you get with experience. And so, if Aaron Beatty can't go, I'm curious. I'm excited to watch Cerna play, and I'm excited to see kind of how he develops. But, it's a blessing that Jay has the ability to have the top 2 catchers in Texas 2 years in a row and then have Yamin.
Eddie Yamin in there with some experience, obviously, to be able to go and fill in when they need to. Well, Jared brought up an interesting point pre-show when he was talking about how Cerna has kind of had that same little role that Aaron Beatty was carving out for himself. And Jared, I'll let you explain it because I don't want to take your point. And I thought it was an interesting perspective.
Yeah, no, I mean, early on, it seems like when I watch Cerna play right now, like there's so much talent, there's so much ability there. Like it's that you'd be blind and not be able to understand that. And it almost feels like when you're watching him right now, that it feels like he's trying to take that starter job every swing and every opportunity that he is out there at the plate. And instead of allowing the game to come to him, look, truth be told, if this team's as good as they think they are, if this team's as good as they want to be, there's a very good chance that he's not going to have 150 at-bats. It's just a good chance. I'm not saying that that's 100%. I'm not saying that that's set in stone. I'm not saying that he can't take a step and take the starter spot or have something happen where he is the starter. I'm just saying if you flip the coin or if you play the odds of it, there's a good chance that that's not going to be the case. So with that being the case is understanding, here's my role, here's my opportunities. Let's be the best in that role that I possibly can, as opposed to trying to do a little too much. It feels like I'm watching Aaron Beatty early on last year, right? Like you saw a lot of him playing that way until he kind of settled in and understood his role and started playing his game and got comfortable in a new spot and a new role that he's never played that role in his life. He's never not been the guy, and I think that's kind of where he is right now. So it'll be interesting to see if he can and how soon he can get out of that field and start contributing even more in these opportunities that he's getting.
And look, if, let's say Aaron Beatty's out for a few games. I don't know how long he's going to be out. He may not be out at all. But let's just say he's out for a few games and he goes out there and he does make the adjustment, gets the experience, gets some more at-bats, and he does well. Now all of a sudden he may get that 150 at-bats because he may be in the DH role, and it's going to be better for the team long-term. It's going to be better for Cerna regardless, right? He's going to get the experience, and if he does well, great. If he doesn't, he has the experience, he's going to get better from it. But if he does well and he makes that jump early, now all of a sudden you got 2 high-level guys you can put back there, because Aaron Beatty ain't catching 3 games in a row. But
it's also, it's one of those things too. It's like we talked about it. It's like, how is it going to work in terms of him? Because let's just say, in a perfect world, in a world where he truly is one of the top 2 catchers on this team, behind the plate and or in the box as well. However you put that together, whatever you value as a coaching staff, let's say he's one of the top 2 catchers on this team. It is really hard to have both of those guys in the lineup every day, right, because you're burning one of them.
Right.
So if that's the case, it's like, how do I get him in, or how do I get him these opportunities when these opportunities arise? Because if I burn him out in the DH role, I can't play him. Right. So it's understanding how do you work through, I guess, that situation and also get him on the field if he is as good as advertised.
Right, and it also goes into how much confidence does Jay have in Yaman, right? Where, hey, if I do burn them, do I have enough confidence in Yaman to go there, be up on the plate, and catch in some high-level situations, right? Like if you have to put him in or whatever. So it's going to be interesting, but, it's the things that Jay gets paid to do and figure it out, and I have no doubt that he's going to figure that thing out. All right, Lloyd, ask Mikey and Mitch, you got any questions?
Yes, we have a couple of questions. Real quick, before we get there, there's been an article that just came out by everybody's favorite Glenn Gilbo, but he talked to Jay Johnson about revenue share and where he thinks LSU baseball is. And I'm just going to read you some of these quotes. At LSU, as advised by the SEC office, football has received 75%, men's basketball 15%, women's basketball 5%, and all the other sports get a concoction of the remaining 5%. It's a really hard topic, Johnson told Tiger Rag in an extensive interview recently. What I'm going to say is schools are going to decide what sports they want to excel in. Asked if they've already been doing that, Johnson laughed and said, tough question, but all I'm going to say is schools are going to have to decide what sports they want to be really good in, and there are some schools that are all in on baseball. We need to be one of those schools. We're not there yet.
We've been screaming that, right? Like, the LSU name can only take you so far, right? At some point, people are going to want to play there, right, and win and all that stuff. But at some point, they're going to be saying, okay, well, where's my money, right? Everybody's getting money. Where's my money?
Well, yeah, in Arkansas, if they're giving you 5 and LSU can only offer you 1.
I want to play there and I want to win, but hey, $400,000 is a lot of money. It's a lot of difference. It's a big difference than what you're offering. So Jay's talked a lot about that. He has not shied away from that. He has said that on numerous occasions that baseball needs more funds, and there are some avenues that are being created to be able to create those funds. But it's not going to come. It's going to have to come from different revenue streams and not revenue sharing from LSU.
Yeah, this was a topic I wondered about how it was going to go and how it was going to get divvied up, because I got to imagine the blueprint around the country, for the most part, is for these baseball teams to not get as much of the revenue sharing. Well, when you have a university like LSU that has been as successful as LSU, that is, if you ask me, the flagship university in terms of college baseball, not only in success, but in fan involvement, all things put to it. It's hard to take a time where, mind you, this is 2 championships in the last 4 years as well, to sit here and they implement rev sharing and you're not going to give a favorable amount to that baseball team. You're not sitting there telling not only the university, but you're also not sitting there telling the kids that want to come in. You're not sitting there telling the people that understand and start learning about what's going on and what the landscape of it is, that baseball matters to you. That's kind of tough with what LSU represents in college baseball. So I wondered about how this was going to work. I wondered about what it's going to look like going forward, because I got to imagine LSU is a school that should always want to be really good at baseball.
Right.
And that's where his thing is.
Right. Yep. No doubt. We'll see how this thing plays out. But I know I've had conversations with guys who are huge baseball fans, obviously, that have some decently deep pockets, and they're trying to figure out ways to make it happen too. So there's things happening behind the scenes. It's not there. They're not even close. Right. So there's more help that's needed, and Jay has not shied away from that. Lloyd, ask Mikey and Mitch.
Yep. I'm getting to them now. Ask Mikey and Mitch, as I'm going through the chat here. Ask Mikey and Mitch, is there any team on the schedule that's either not what you thought they'd be, good or bad, or is it still too early to tell? Arkansas lost again last night. Everybody lost. UCLA lost. It was crazy.
Look, I think it's still too early to tell. It's hard to, I guess if I had to pinpoint, talking about schedule, I don't even know, does LSU play Tennessee this year?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Tennessee's on the schedule. I guess if I had to pinpoint something right now, obviously Tennessee has gotten off to probably the start they didn't want to get off to. Florida, I think, hadn't gotten off to the start that they wanted to get off to. They're winning games, but, I think that, their ace hasn't pitched as an ace. So I guess if those 2 teams, but I think it's too early to tell, man. It's just, you got a lot of things you got to figure out early on, but, early returns, I'd say those 2 teams.
It's definitely way too early to tell. You never know who can get hot, who will get hot, and what it's going to look like. But I guess I can't tell you this, or I will say this, and at the end of the year, I may be completely wrong. But when I speak on it today, from I guess a 3 different screen viewpoint and volume, pretty much only on one screen, so not even really listening and kind of learning and seeing what's going on. It's not just that they lost the series at home. It's not just that it was to a Kent State team. When I watched Tennessee play, the the style of play didn't really pop like it has the last few years. And for me, I wonder if that's something, a theme that's going to take him through the rest of the year. Like, they got some high-priced guys. They got some top prospects that came in there. So it's not sitting here and saying that they got no talent. But the style of play didn't pop like it used to. So I'm wondering if that's something that's going to keep going, and if that's something that's going to kind of bring them down, knock them down a notch from where they've been in the past few years, which is one of the most successful, especially regular season ball clubs. Obviously, they had that championship for it as well, but one of the most successful clubs in college baseball.
Right, and look, you got Mississippi State too. Like, they weren't good last year. New coach obviously made a huge difference. Right, they went from being not good last year to one of the favorites to get back to Omaha. So that's another one, obviously, to keep an eye on.
All right, that's Mikey and Mitch. Real NIL young boy, that's Mikey and Mitch. Should Daniel Harden see more opportunities?
Listen, I don't know enough about him, right? I haven't watched him play to be able to give you an accurate answer on that.
He's gotten in late a couple times.
What's that?
He's gotten in late a couple times.
For sure. I mean, I know who he is, and I've seen him on the field, but I haven't seen his game enough to say, hey, he should play more or not. But I'll say this. Jay has always, if he felt like somebody, was going to get an opportunity or needed an opportunity, he gave opportunities. And so if Jay feels like he needs more playing time, I imagine you're going to see him get some more opportunities.
I would say, could he get more opportunity? Sure, yeah, without a doubt. Should he get more opportunity? I'm not sure of that yet. And I do, like, once again, Jay's given a lot of opportunities up and down the lineup, up and down the roster of guys getting a chance to kind of get in there right now. I think you eat what you kill at this point, right? Like, he's had a fall, he's had a spring to kind of get himself in this spot where the opportunities are there. Now, once you start getting these opportunities, what are you going to do with them? I think it's pretty fair for us to say through the first 4 years, starting on now the 5th year, that Jay's not riding a lineup 1 through 9, and that's where it's stuck for 56 games. So the opportunities you're seeing kind of being divvied out and given away, they've come from the work that's been laid down before. So as time goes, could you see him get more opportunities? Sure, yeah. He's a talented kid. But I shouldn't say I could sit here and say should at this point.
Right.
That's Mikey and Mitch. Fonzarelli. Does the loss actually loosen up the team because they are no longer pressured to keep the winning streak going, which is something y'all know something about? Was that 23 straight? And 2008 for you, Jared? And then, or is this something that you don't even think about?
Look, I don't think that 9 games into the season, I don't think that there was a lot of pressure to keep a winning streak going on, like at least internally from them. But I think sometimes a loss can kind of be used as a reset, right? Like, and it's early, so I'm not saying you need a full reset, but kind of one of those things that kind of, makes you kind of on like alert, like, okay, all right, so if we do this, obviously we can lose to anybody. And so sometimes the loss is good. You learn more from losses than you do from wins. And so I'd imagine that they're going to take that. But I think it's going to be a mixture of both of his questions. Like, yeah, I think they use that as some sort of learning lesson, but at the same time, it's like, hey, it's one game in the grand scheme of the season, and, you're going to have to move on from that. So I think they're just going to be business as usual after that and start moving forward.
Yeah, I wouldn't. You're still multiple weekends before you even get into conference play at this point. 9 games or 8 games into it, I don't think anybody's really overly worried about or overly thinking about winning streak at that point. You're just trying to stack wins, stack good at bats, stack good opportunities to kind of get you to the next. So to loosen them up at this point of the year, I would hope you're still playing loose. If you're not, when we really haven't played anyone, we're probably not the team that we thought or hoped that we were. We probably won't be going very far. So if that's where they were, that's a bad sign for the team. I don't think that that's where they were, and I don't think it's that much of a deal at this point.
Yep. Next.
That's coming in from LSU Melly. There have been some people boo-hooing because team ERA is last in the SEC. I've argued it's way too early to be truly concerned. What say y'all?
I agree. Way too early to be concerned with team ERA. I think some of those runs Some of the ERA gets skewed towards the back end of games.
Mm-hmm.
There are some games, 21-7. I think some of those runs got scored. They were scored late. Game was already out of hand, and some trash runs, kind of goes against the ERA. So I'd say let's pump the brakes on that.
Yeah, I'd say pump the brakes on it. And once again, you're looking at a Friday night guy in a new role. You're looking at a freshman coming in Sunday that you're hoping can, work himself into a regular starter and feel comfortable with it. And I'm not saying that the runs are on them, but my point is if those two things start to kick and really go, that gives you more innings that are eaten up by starters, less innings that are eaten up by the bullpen. And I think if that happens, that innately kind of makes your pitching staff better, your numbers better, and it kind of rolls, because the less you have to feel the need to really extend the bullpen game after game after game, the more rested, the sharper they'll be in their actual opportunity. So I think as this thing is going so far, I don't really think that that's that big of a deal right now. And once again, look at the competition they played this past weekend. They did really well, right? And so I would look at it that way and kind of move forward as such at this point of the year.
Perfect.
Ask him them. Ask real NIL Youngboy. Have either of you been able to watch Cam Johnson's outings this year? If so, what do you think it was that finally clicked?
I haven't seen any full outings. What I can tell you is I have seen clips of him throwing this year, and he does finally look comfortable, finally look in sync, finally look like he has confidence in himself for doing what he wants. The kid has incredible natural talent, so I'm not surprised. And you were wondering, when is it going to turn on? When is it going to click? And if it does, look out the rest of the league. I think when they come to Baton Rouge to start SEC play will be a big opportunity for him and a big teller of who he's going to be through the rest of the year at that point.
I agree. I think, look, he's gone through some ups and downs, right? Like he's carrying over some super talent and just hadn't really clicked, and it, sometimes it happens. And it looks like it's happened, and he's been able to have a lot more control. He hasn't walked near as many guys. He's always had the stuff, but he hasn't been able to utilize it because he hadn't had enough confidence in throwing strikes. And so sometimes it happens. Look, there's a guy I played against, Jared played against. Jared didn't get to play against him when he figured it out. But he was pitched for Kentucky. His name was Alex Meyer. He was 6'9", and he threw 100 miles an hour. And he had a 92-mile-an-hour slider, and he was nasty, but his first 2 years, he just couldn't find the strike zone. It was all over the place. And then his junior year, he figured it out, and he was one of the most dominant pitchers in the country. He ended up being a first-rounder. So when you have that much talent, if you can, you just keep working, and once you figure it out, it's kind of scary.
It's kind of funny, too, you bring Alex Meyer up. Like, I caught him when it's in between again, because I caught him actually in Rochester, New York, when he was in AAA. I was in AAA, and Alex hit me with a 98-mile-an-hour fastball right on my knee. And the sound was so loud that immediately when I got hit, I thought my season was over, and I thought like the bone was probably shattered. No, I literally did. It wasn't even that. It was like I was like so hurt. I was like, there's no way that's not broken. Like that sounded absolutely awful. And it was so awful that he understood it, and I guess he probably threw like 5 or 6 in that inning. He left a 6-pack of beer in my locker saying, I didn't mean to do that at the end of the game. But yeah, no, he was one of those guys that was super talented. It's so funny you bring that name up, man, because I remember.
Yeah, he was nasty.
That's Mikey and Mitch. While you were at LSU, who was usually the first to stand up in the locker room after a game like last night and talk about what needs to happen next, other than your coach?
I absolutely hope nobody stood up.
Yeah.
I hope they all hopped in the shower, turned the music on, laughed a little bit, got dressed, got their ass out of there, went home, flushed, and woke up today as if yesterday never happened. I hope nobody spoke about the game last night.
Amen. Nobody. If someone stepped up, if somebody stood up when this happened when we were playing, everybody would tell them to sit their ass down, right? Like everybody relax. We ain't got this. It's one game, So there's a time and a place for somebody to say something, but that's not it.
Not on your first loss of the season, which comes 9 games into the year.
Right.
I don't even care if they got beat 25-0 to someone right now. Like, hush it, go home. Let's come back tomorrow. That's not that today ain't the day for that.
Right.
For the crowd.
More?
Oh, yep. I was going to say, Mama Milam wants to know when you're inviting the moms on the show. to get the real inside scoop, we were funnier than our boys.
Hey, listen, we was at 23 when we were in Omaha. We did a
Father's Day.
Maybe this year we do a Mother's Day show, and we get some insight from the moms.
That's right.
That's a great.
Ooh, could happen.
It's a great idea. They'll give us more of the dirt than the dads, no doubt.
Oh, yeah,
no doubt. I like that idea, Mama Milam. I'm gonna keep that. We're gonna figure that thing out.
Perfect. All right, that wraps us for Ask Mikey and Mitch.
All right, appreciate all the questions. Ask Mikey and Mitch brought to you by our friends at Alumni Hall. It is right in the middle of baseball season, about to be SEC season. Perfect time to represent your university, which would be LSU. Alumni Hall, located in Perkins Row, they have everything that you need to support your squad. Obviously, if you are looking for hats or shirts or jackets or pants or whatever, they have overalls. They have everything that you want and can imagine. They have every brand you can imagine. The players are wearing it. The coaches have it. They have it for you to purchase so you can wear what the players wear. Alumni Hall, located in Perkins Row. Go give them a look. Check them out. They got everything that you want. Proud partners of Mik'd. All right. Lloyd.
Yes.
Do you have a mistake of the day?
I do indeed have a mistake of the day. And it lets you know how different some sports are in other countries than they are here. Because a group of fans, hold on, let me find the article here real quick. Fans of Torino left manure outside the Series A's club training ground under a banner criticizing the owner following a run of poor results, which has left them 3 points above the relegation zone. Videos emerged on Tuesday of fans appearing to shovel shit onto the doorstep of the training ground under a banner criticizing the club president and owner, media mogul Urban Caro, which read, "Eat shit, Caro." And I actually have the video here. But this is how you think it's football is the most passionate fan base, but whenever you start seeing football, and look, we're not getting relegated. I don't know what to tell you. We can't get relegated. I'm not going out from Serie A to Serie B, and so these are the boys hard at work.
Wow. I mean, that's
crazy.
That's some die-hard fans right there.
So, mistake of the day. Don't stop losing. This won't happen.
All stinky. You know what I mean?
Oh,
no one won't require that. They probably stunk too when they left.
Yeah, well,
they sacrificed their personal hygiene to make a point. You know, you gotta do what you gotta do. All right.
That's crazy.
Crazy. Curtain calls.
Oh, wow. Curtain call to, I don't know if you saw, almost LSU player, but never was actually ever going to actually play for LSU because he was drafted far too high. Connor Griffin is murdering the ball right now, and he looks all of the part.
Yep, he does. He seems like he's going to be the next guy that forces his way to a big league roster after out of spring training that's not on the roster.
Right, as early as you can get there.
He's the number one pick in baseball. I mean, number one prospect in baseball, and he's doing what he should do to say, hey, listen, I'm going to hit a bunch of homers in spring training. I'm going to be the best player on the field, and then you're going to option me down, and you're going to put yourself in a position where you're going to lose a draft pick if I end up not being able to get to free agency at a certain time. So, he's killing it. And look, we've got to speak with his dad whenever he was coming out of high school.
Yeah.
Right. They're fans of our show, and huge LSU fans. Obviously, he wanted to be here, but no reason for him to come. He was drafted way too high. And
I pay you back on that because he is he's definitely in a situation where he's going to make it really hard for them to say no, and he's got enough cachet behind his name already where it makes a lot of sense for them to pull him up there. And listen, that roster could use a little infusion of youth, a little infusion of some of what he brings to a lineup. It'll be interesting to see if he makes it.
No doubt. I mean, he's going to be in the big leagues this year.
I'm just talking about making it out of camp.
That's if he's going to make it out of camp or not.
Yeah. When I say make it, that's what I mean. I'm not really questioning the other side if he's actually going to be there either. Some point this year or in his career for real.
Yeah. Jared, you got a current call?
No, that's what I said. I'm piggybacking on that.
All right, I like that. I got a current call. I was gonna say on the baseball side, it really hadn't happened yet, and so I guess I'm gonna use my curtain call now that when it should be. But curtain call to baseball. We talked a lot about hockey because of what we saw in the Olympics, right? We saw America go out there and have an unbelievable game and win the gold medal. But this year you have the World Baseball Classic, and that's being played in March, and that would be, it's not the Olympics, but it is very much playing for your country, and the World Baseball Classic is pretty electric. If you remember the last one, you had Ohtani versus Trout in a matchup, and it's just, it shows the purity of baseball, and you have a lot of really good guys and really talented players, superstars playing. Paul Skeens being one of them. And, so shout out to baseball because this is going to put Major League Baseball on a really good stage, right? Major League Baseball gets a lot of bad publicity sometimes, and this is going to hopefully put them in a really good light and, maybe bring some people back to the game. That's what I got. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. I'm sorry that I was in the studio. Lloyd, I love you for being there and for always stepping up and making this thing run the right way.
No worries.
I appreciate you. We'll be back live in studio on Friday, talking ball. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you can't watch us, but you like listening to us or anywhere you get your pods. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night. See you on Friday. Pray for me and Jared that we get some sleep tonight.
Right. You only up one time last night now. Come on.
You got a long stretch?
Yeah.
You got a long stretch?
A little stretch. Got him up to literally scratching 4 hours last night.
We got a 4-hour stretch, but we the second and third stretches are only about 2 hours and 45 minutes.
No, you tripping. See, listen, all I need is 4. You give me 1 4-hour stretch tonight.
Well, the problem is a 4-hour stretch comes when you put them out at 9. You wake up at 1. You're like,
that's when you tripping. Now I'm gonna have to extend you at the front.
Yeah. Give me the 4-hour stretch from 12 to 4. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You tripping?
You're just getting into that deep sleep, and you're like, oh, here we go. But all right, we love y'all. We'll see you on Friday. Peace. Yeah. Oh, look at that. We're on a heater.
Heater.
Lloyd, love you.
Love you, boys. Appreciate y'all. Later.
Appreciate you.
All right.